It is safe to assume that you know what philosophy is. It's thinking about life, how to live a good life, how to be in control of your emotions, and all of that. But you know what Stoicism is, or Stoic philosophy? Well, I did not know what that was before just a couple weeks ago, but I got inspired and bought a couple of philosophy books, and I can surely say that my life has taken a great turn since then. The first book I got and read was The Enchiridion by Epictetus, and it's a small little book. It is basically a field manual for your life, designed to help readers apply Stoic philosophy to daily challenges. And if you want some backstory about this Epictetus guy, it's a very strong story. He's born a slave, and through hard work and connections, he became a leading Stoic teacher, proving that freedom is a state of mind and it's not a physical condition. This book was quite easy to understand. It wasn't like too many weird words and weird statements that made you just sit there and stare at the ceiling. It was quite basic, and I feel like I actually learned something from this book. And the most basic teachings in this book is that in life there are two types of situations. You're either in control of a situation and you can control the outcome, or you're not able to control the outcome and it's not in your control. That's all I'm trying to say. You can either control the outcome or whatever you're doing, or you can't. The things that are up to us and the things that you actually can't control, that's our judgments, desires, actions, and thoughts, and basically just everything human about us, whatever you do. But things that are not up to us is the body we're born in, our reputation, because we can't control what people think about us, our wealth, well, to a certain degree. Remember, this was written 2,000 years ago. He lived in year 135, I think, or he died. But society, we can't control society, the body we are born in, our reputation. You get what I mean. We can't control the world. We can only control ourselves. And what he's trying to say through this is that if you focus on the worldly things, the reputation, the society, whatever you can't control, if you focus on that and try to control that, you will never find peace in your soul, because you will get anxiety and you will start blaming others and you will not get stillness in your soul. But if you start to focus only on what you can control, you will become free, unrestrained, and unhindered. So if you are facing a troubling situation in life, instead of just acting on the first emotion that hits you or doing whatever you think is best in that very moment, Epictetus teaches us to step a few steps back and just think. Is this something that I can control, or is it something that I can't control? He says, "You are but an appearance. It is nothing for me." So if you can acknowledge that the situation in front of you is something out of your control, just don't forget about it, but you don't have to act on it. Just let it go. It's out of your control, because if you start acting on it, you will get so much anxiety and bad feelings in your soul, and you will not feel free and stable. Another important point in Stoic philosophy is to not be attached. And I think that people think that Stoicism is like some heartless philosophy where you don't have any feelings, but I'll show you an example. So before you start engaging with anything you love, for example, a ceramic cup or your own child or wife, you have to remind yourself of its true nature. A cup can break. A child or a human is born and will die eventually. So if you kiss your child or your wife, say that you only kiss things which are human and thus you will not be disturbed if either of them dies. It sounds kind of cold, and it sounds like you don't have any feelings, that you're dead inside, but it's about loving realistically. It prevents you from being overbearing and devastated by the natural limits of life. You just have to understand that people will come and people will go, and it's just a way of life. So if you can just make it your normal habit to understand something's nature before you start loving it, I think you'll find more peace in your soul than if you don't understand this basic principle. Another very important topic in Stoic philosophy is that people are not disturbed by situations and happenings over the world. People are disturbed by their own conception of those happenings. So if something bad happens to you, that is not, or it doesn't have to be bad, but just if something happens to you, the occurrence doesn't have to be good or evil. It just happened. But it is our own understanding of that happening which makes us react to that happening. Another key topic in Stoic philosophy is that events aren't evil or good in general. So let's say that someone spills a cup of water on you while you're at a cafe. The action in itself is not evil or good, because it was an accident and you just got spilled some water on your shirt. But it is your understanding of the event which may trigger you. Because if you think that the person did that on purpose, or the person had evil intentions, if you think that, that will be your reality. But in general, the event was not evil or good. It was just your own conception or understanding of the event which made it evil or good. So in every event in life, we have to understand that, per usual, the event in itself is not evil or good. It's our own conception and understanding of the event. Another kind of funny topic he's talking about is that you should never become proud of something that isn't yours. Let's say that a pretty horse, a very pretty horse, walks up to you and says, "Aren't I pretty?" That would be bearable, because it's a pretty horse and the pretty horse says, "Aren't I beautiful?" But if you go into town and say, "Don't I have a pretty horse?" then you will be proud of something that isn't yours entirely, because you are not the horse, you just own the horse. So you are taking the pride of the horse and using it for your own good. What is it then that you have for yourself? Are you proud of something that you have done, or something that others have done? Think about that. In chapter 8, he writes about, don't expect the world to go just like you want it to go. No, you should let it go just how it goes. Then it will do you well. So basically, don't mind your business too much about things that you can't control. Now we're back at chapter 1. Just let the world do its thing, and you will have peace within. But I understand that this point is hard to understand in a world like now, where we have wars and people are dying. And I am not perfect, because I think about it all the time. I hate the wars, I don't like it, and I try to change it. But in reality, I can't do anything about it. And it will only make me anxious and make my life miserable if I just keep trying to change the world when I clearly can't. In chapter 9, he talks about sickness is just an obstacle for the body, but not for your mind, unless you give it power over your mind. Because if you break your foot or something like that, it's only a problem for your foot. but not for your mind. That's how you should think about every injury or sickness that you ever encounter. Because then you'll understand that everything that happens is a problem for something, but never for you or your mind. In chapter 11, he talks about never say never. If you lose something, or something gets stolen, just say, I have returned it. If your bike gets stolen, it's easy for you to say, oh, that was a robber, he who took it. And then Epictetus says, is it up to you what type of person the giver uses to get his own back? So he's basically saying that it doesn't matter how your things are taken, because the person or the giver who gave it to you can get it back, and it doesn't matter what type of way he gets it back. I don't know how this translates to nowadays culture with insurance policies and whatever, but he's basically saying that it's not that deep. If you have something in life, someday you will have to return it. And it doesn't matter what type of way it gets returned, because the giver wants it back eventually. In chapter 12, he talks about how it is not wishful for someone, and definitely not in your best intentions, that it is in his power to choose over your peace. That was a lot of words. But Epictetus is saying that no one wants to control your peace, and that is not in your best intentions either. You shouldn't let anyone be able to control what you feel, because then they can control you and your emotions. Chapter 14 says something revelating. If someone is searching for freedom, let that person never ask or wish for anything or avoid anything that has to do with others, other people. Because if he do, he will become a slave, and anxiety will fill his heart. So you can't control other people. You can't control what people do or what they think about you or think about anything. So if your life depends on someone, or you wish something to happen through other people, you will never find peace, because people aren't meant to be controlled that way, and you can't base your life on other people like that. I think that's what he means. In chapter 17, he talks about what is the purpose of life, or what is the purpose of your role in society. He says that if your role is to play a poor man's role, or a drug addict, or a leader, or a worker, then it matters the most that you can play your role perfectly, or play it good. So whatever your role is, do it good. Don't half-ass it. My philosophical thoughts are not quite there yet. I'm thinking very abstractly, but I hope you get the message. Just do your role which you are assigned. That's basically what he's saying. In chapter 18, he talks about things will happen to you, good things and bad things. But whatever happens, it's up to you to take all of the pros and gains from whatever happens. Something that happens is not inherently good or bad. It's just up to you to take whatever is good, whatever gain, and just take it out of that event or situation. You have to be a farmer and just take the good crops. Chapter 20 is quite eye-opening for me. It talks about if someone is trash-talking you or talking negatively about you, or is beating you, that action in itself is not violating. It's only our view about the situation that is violating and feels violating to us. So remember, if someone is provoking you, just be sure that it is your own understandings about the situation that is making you angry and making you feel violated. Try to not be disoriented by the situation. Spend some time and understand the situation, and you will have a easier time to understand what is really happening. So basically, people and whatever they do is not inherently good or bad. It's just your own understanding of the situation and their handlings that can lead to you feeling violated. So step back and observe the situation, and you will be more wise and have more peace in your soul. In chapter 21, he talks about something which is I kind of laughed a bit when I read it. It's basically death and everything bad about the world. You should have it in front of you daily. You should see death and all of the horrors in the world daily, because you shouldn't be afraid of death. It shouldn't have any power over you. I think that is what he meant. Don't give death power over you. It's just a natural cause. You don't have to be afraid of it because it will affect your thinking. Chapter 22 is something that I think all of us have heard before. And I'm just going to translate it to modern day language. If you just keep going and keep working at it, the people who used to laugh at you will respect you. But if you give up and give them the satisfaction of watching you fail, you will be laughed at twice as much. So keep working at it, and the people who are laughing at you will respect you. But if you give up and give them the satisfaction of watching you fail, they will laugh at you twice as much. I think that's very transferable to today's culture. One of his most famous quotes comes from chapter 23. Should you ever move your sight towards the outer things, to be something in others' eyes that you are not, be sure that you in the same moment will lose your way in life. Don't do things for others, is what I think he's saying. Because if you live your life based on pleasing others and being something that you are not, you will lose your way in life, and you will lose your peace, and you will become anxious. And he finishes off with saying, remember that it is enough that you know who yourself are. You don't have to prove anything to others. You are who yourself are. Chapter 24 is also pretty cool. He talks with a guy, I think, and the guy is saying that he is meaningless and his life is worthless, basically. And Epictetus answers with, how can it be true that you are meaningless when you should only be inside of those areas in life which is in your own will, where you have the ability to be of the highest priority? So I think he's basically saying that you can't be worthless if you are in an area of life where you choose your own reality and you can be the highest priority person. So you have to be in the right place. And if you are not in the right place, you could feel worthless because that's not where you're supposed to be and you can't control the situation. So basically, be in a situation where you can control. Further down, he talks about who can give to others what he don't have. I don't know how that connects to the first part. There's a lot of text in between. I just marked it out. It was just kind of a nice quote. You can't give anything to others if you don't have it yourself, basically. So if you want to give love, you have to love yourself. If you want to give money, you have to have money yourself. If you want to go on a nice cruise in a beautiful car with another guy and give him a nice ride, you have to have the car yourself. So it could be like a motivation to get money, I guess. Further down, he talks about what position you should take in society. I think I already talked about this, but he basically says that whatever role that you are good at, you should take. And that role should be a role where you can simultaneously live a dedicated life and a proud life. In chapter 25, he talks about jealousy. Let's say a guy wins a medal, and you also wanted to win the medal. It is good to win the medal. Then you should be happy about him winning the medal, because it is good. Further down he talks about you can't expect to achieve the same things in outer things like achievements as others unless you put down the same amount of work. It is kind of self-explanatory, but it just helps to know that people 2000 years ago thought about the same thoughts that we think about now. You are a fool if you think you can get something for free instead of paying the price. I think that's what he meant. You can't expect to get something for free if you're not willing to pay the price, because then you would be a fool. Chapter 26 is probably also one of my most favorite chapters. And picture your friend dropping a glass of water while he's about to drink it. And it smashes to the ground and it turns into 1,000 pieces. It's very easy to say, oh, that was impossible to avoid. You know, stuff like that happens. If you say that, you have to make sure that you also can say that when it happens to you. So when you smash your own glass to the ground, you have to be able to say, oh, that was impossible to avoid. Because if you start saying, oh, poor me, then you are not putting yourself in their shoes. A more brutal example is if your friend has a child and that child dies. The most natural response would be to say, well, we are all humans of human nature, we are born and we're dying. That's just a way of life. And that's what you should say, or something in the lines of that. But if your own child dies, and you say, oh no, what a tragedy, how could something brutal like this happen? Then you done something wrong. Because we should always think about how others would take it when we hear that something has happened to others. So when something happens to you, you can't be a victim. You have to be as rational as you are when bad things happens to others. I don't know if I explained that poorly, but that's just how I tried to explain it. Chapter 28 is one of the coolest chapters, I would say, and best quotes. Let me try to explain here. So, if someone would have given your body away to a random stranger who came by, you would naturally become angry, right? You're following. And in the same way, aren't you shameful over that you're giving away your peace and control of life as soon as someone insults you? So basically, you would be very angry if someone gave away your body to a random stranger. The same way, you should be shameful of yourself when someone insults you and you just give them what they want. You give them your mind and your peace. Do you understand? I think that's what I'm trying to say. Chapter 29 is, before you start a big task, you should think about what it demands of you. Because if you don't, you will start with a lot of hope. And when the tough times come, you will just give up like a shameful little creep. Because when you first have looked through all of the possibilities and what it demands of you, then you can start training or whatever. So let's say you want to be an Olympic winner. if you think about all of the hours you have to practice, all of the dieting you have to go through, and all of the workouts and whatever, and you're okay with that, that's when you can start working out. But if that doesn't sound like fun to you, just drop it. There's a lot more chapters, but I think for now, this is good. I really enjoyed reading this book, and I would love to talk about it more deeply. So if you guys want to hear me talk about the next chapters, because there's a total of, let me see, 53 chapters, and I think I went through I think I came to chapter 30, so there's 20 chapters left around that. If you guys want to hear more about this book, just let me know, because I like Stoicism and I think it's cool. And I'm also reading another book, which I'm probably going to talk about later. I hope you guys liked this video, and I enjoyed making it because it's fun talking about this stuff. And I'm sorry if I explained myself poorly, because I'm not that well spoken yet, but I'm trying to, I'm working on it. So thanks for tuning in, and peace be with you.